Last day in Louisiana, and LSU are currently practicing. Media does not have access, or do we? You know, I'm not one for cheating. I'm not one for doing crazy things. But there's some times in life you just wonder how it's set up, if it's destiny. Well, we're not going to do anything more to push that button. Definitely didn't film anything of that, but I think they're obviously expecting some type of recruiting visitors or someone like that to come on through. Maybe even a class of kids or something, because they erected these giant field goal posts, extra large field goal posts, just the other day. Very strange. Right after practice, they were getting to work on it. Really going crazy. But yeah, because it's our last day in Louisiana for right now, we wanted to film kind of a wrap-up post-apocalyptic trip video. Well, all in all, I think what we saw was very interesting from practice, because we got to see LSU's live formations with Matt House. We got to see maybe a little too much than they wanted to show us of the receivers, as we found out when we were asked to take one of the videos that we posted down, not because we broke any rules, but because LSU, what was explained to me was it was on them. They put something out there that the media shouldn't have seen. I was able to film it, put it as part of our subscriber package. It's still on there. They didn't care. They said they wouldn't delete that, but they definitely wanted me to take it off Twitter. That's why there was a deletion of one of our tweets. So, we were able to get some great stuff. And I think we definitely improved on filming, for sure. I think the film looks fantastic from what I've been able to see. And what was great was, while we were filming, we were able to kind of lock in, check everything out, but then we were able to kind of go elsewhere and make sure that we were watching everything. And there's a lot of stuff that we just did not miss, even if we didn't film, because we were all over the place. We were just very focused, very dialed into each little segment, but making sure we could do right and get everything. It's LSU spring practice right now, and unlike last year, where there was a lot for these guys to prove, where there was a lot for some of the NFL guys, Ojulari, Booty, some of these guys who are already gone, for them to prove as well. There's none of that, because a lot of these guys are unknown quantities, A. B, if they had a great season last year, we're kind of expecting that, but some of those guys are hurt. Mason Taylor, Charles Turner, Aaron Anderson, even the new transfer, we're waiting for him to get back. There's a lot of guys, Mekhi Wingo as well. There's a lot of guys who are hurt right now, out until maybe summer, fall, early fall. Hopefully get back for that week one. Some of them don't look to be too serious, but they're definitely going to be holding them back. Of course, Mason Smith coming back from a big injury. There's a lot of guys out there who are really young playing early. Ryan Yates, we've seen him a lot at safety. Ton at safety. Jeremiah Hughes, we thought we saw him with the ones yesterday. That was just because that was the first group we saw when they rolled away the stone to let us in. He was most likely with the twos, but we've seen him play frequently as well. Jackson Howard is getting a lot of reps out there, defensive end, at the jack linebacker position. Quincy Wiggins, you're seeing him a ton in these lineups. Part of the interior three. It's very interesting. Trey Hawley, of course, one of only 2 available running backs with Noah Cain. So it's pretty. LSU are a little down to bare bones. And when we were talking to Emory Jones the other day, Emory Jones is telling us, It's about rep management right now. I mean, he just looked really tired after practice. He looked really beat and was just like, talking about how there's so many guys missing right now that they're really just trying to kind of ease into this. But they were glad to have Frazier back. They were glad to kind of get that boost there, offensive line number-wise. But still, you can see the offensive linemen right now are kind of just gritting through this spring. Just get through the spring, no more injuries, work on technique, sharpen technique, focus on what the new guys may be able to bring when they arrive, things like that. Because, think about it this way. Emory Jones arrived last year in June. He had no spring preparation. So did Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor arrived late too. So did Harold Perkins. That's 3 of the electric freshmen, 4 from last year, who arrived in June. No spring, and were fantastic. Not only fantastic, they were elite last year. So I really do believe that LSU's freshman class right now are getting the huge benefit of having this spring. But at the same time, we're trying not to get too carried away because there's a lot of guys hurt across the board here. Even Deuce Chestnut, new transfer. We can't use his veteran presence at the back. So we've got, Javion Toviano out there with the ones constantly. Denver Harris, only just barely into his second year as well. Sophomore out there as well. Sage Ryan into his 3rd year. Still on the younger side. Redshirt sophomore, I believe. Redshirt junior. I'm not sure, did he redshirt that first year in 2021? I swear to God he did. He only played 2 games that year, so I think so. But Sage Ryan's playing a lot. We're seeing Sage Ryan play a ton. He's playing a lot at nickel, of course, like we've seen, but we've also seen him at safety, which is his preferred position. And it's just very interesting because there's a lot of versatility back there, what they can do at corner. And, also what we're hearing and what we just were able to confirm again, Jalen Brown not at practices today, again, for the 2nd straight day. I'm not exactly sure everything that's going on there, but it's, from what I'm being told by a source as close as you can possibly get, that, it's not something extreme. But that's the thing is, you just hope that there's no injuries. You hope that there's no impending transfers from a talent like Jalen Brown, And so we hope everything's good with him, and we just hope to see him back out here because it really was sad for us coming down here to not see Jalen Brown in action because he's one of those players that I believe could be electric this season out of the gates as well on offense. We talked a lot about the defensive side and how there's a lot of freshmen playing for the defense. I think you're going to at least see 1 or 2 of these freshman receivers pop here, And I think you can include Aaron Anderson in that group, even though, into his 2nd year, one with Alabama. Just scratch that year off. Like, he had 1 target, 0 targets last year. Very little experience for Aaron Anderson. This is basically starting over. And I think you're probably going to see, if he's healthy, if he can be 100% by the season's beginning, I think you're going to see him, Kyle Parker, Jalen Brown, absolutely, maybe Shelton Sampson Jr. even coming in late as well, just like we were saying about Mason, Harold, and Emory Jones from last year. They were able to come in late and still have a huge impact. I think this is what it's about here. I think what we're going to see is this team's identity is going to be a lot of young guys, and then a lot of veterans kind of filling in the gaps, showing them the way. A guy like Mason Smith, can you really call him a veteran entering his 3rd year? But Sage Ryan, is he really a veteran entering his 3rd year too? They had a lot of experience in one of their seasons. Even Mason Smith his freshman year was still cut short, I think 4 or 5 games. So, like, what you're seeing from this spring right now, just the overall vibe from me, and I'm seeing, is let us get through this offseason with 0 injuries. 0 injuries. That's really, to me, what I'm seeing. Like, get this team better in certain spots, specifically the defensive line technique, offensive line technique, defensive back technique, drilling the receivers, getting them to really, really deliver and buy in, and getting Jaden Downs in the rhythm he should be, getting Jaden Downs to let it go, uncork it, actually throw the damn football, trust in his guys, and he's looking bigger and more thickened too. And that's what it is all about, I think, is just keeping this team as healthy and as fit as possible going into Florida State. And I think you're going to see, maybe some, they'll take away some of that load. They'll take away some of the intensity from the practices, the length of the practices. As you're seeing there's not as many practices as last year. I believe there's like 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5 less practices than last spring. And it's because these guys don't really need the reps. I mean, some guys do, but these guys they're not really starving for the reps. What they're starving for, as we watch a punt go flying up in the air, what they're watching for is just for these guys to get through this phase. They're just watching for guys who are going to pop, who are going to rise, and who are going to be there when the time comes, which is week 1, Florida State. And I think what you have on this team is a lot of depth that is surprising. I think the depth sneaks up on you. You just because we don't know the names doesn't mean they're not there. I mean, for instance, a guy like Gregory Clayton Jr., we got a chance to meet the other day. Someone like him, he deserves a way more credit than he got. Totally shored up the the returning game. And last year, we absolutely had to have someone stop the bleeding. But, I think that there's guys like this all over this team who are going to really respond when that moment comes. And I have a feeling about this team. Watching the quarterbacks, watching how plentiful the talent is at receiver, and we don't even have Shelton Sampson or Kai Preen or Aaron Anderson out there yet. And Jalen Brown was missing from the last 2 days. So with all of this, Mekhi Wingo not even out there. We didn't even have Mason Smith last year. We still won 10 games. Like, there's all these things that really lead you to believe that LSU should be contending this season, not only for the SEC West, but for the SEC entire and for a college football playoff spot. You heard me right. You heard me damn right. And that's the thing, is I'm not getting caught up in hype. I'm not getting caught up in hyperbole. But I see the beginnings of a team that are just really hungry. This team just seemed to me like they are hungry as hell. I know it's spring. It's early times. But there's just a vibe out there where I think, like, for instance, a guy last year like Sage Ryan was really talked about as someone who struggled, someone who didn't play up to par or something like this. And when you actually go back and watch the film, the dude is battling his ass off every rep, and he's learning every play. He's getting it, and whether he's beaten or not, whether it was someone else's fault or it was on him, I think there's a lot of the touchdowns he was charged with on Pro Football Focus that were absolute just BS. There was at least 2 of the 4 absolutely not on him, including one against Georgia, just for specifics, where it was. I mean, I watched the play happen about 500 feet below me, inside the Mercedes-Benz Dome, where it was obvious it was Jay Ward's at fault on that route. They were supposed to switch, but no, charge it to Sage Ryan. So I think there's guys like that who people are kind of thinking, oh, they're not good, they're not having a great season, etc., etc., etc. I think you're going to see those guys pop out of nowhere. I think you're going to see guys really have strong seasons. Sage Ryan. I think you're going to see Brian Thomas Jr. He caught a quiet 5 touchdowns last year. I think you could see him boost that even higher. But then Chris Hilton Jr., a guy no one's paying attention to, a guy no one's really like looking at or talking about. I like the way he looks right now physically. He's stout. He's thickened up in the upper body. I love to see it. And he's making every catch out there. Chris Hilton is someone who, with his speed, if that knee hasn't affected his speed, he can really be something special. Just leaving people in the dust. They're doing 1-on-1v1 passing drills right now. We're getting a glimpse of it. This is fun. This is fun. I don't want to leave this place. I don't want to leave this place. But I even just got a call from my boss who is like, bro, are you coming home? Are you coming home? And I'm like, yeah, man. Yeah, of course we're coming home. What do you mean we're coming home? Not coming home. What are you talking about? And he was like, I'm seeing all your YouTube stuff, and I'm seeing all your Twitter and Facebook, and you seem like you got a job going, man. And I'm like, I wish. And so, it's bittersweet. I love being here. I love the environment. I love everything about this place. But it sucks to leave because it feels like when I leave, we're just getting started. And when we leave, we're just about to miss something else that's happening. Because there's always something crazy happening in town. There's always something great going down. And we just don't ever want to miss it. We love being here, and it's been a pleasure. And I thank Michael Bonnet for this opportunity again. I thank all of everybody at LSU Sports Information, everybody at the LSU football staff who's been really kind and generous with their time with me and very generous getting to know me, whether that's social media or meeting me or whatever. Shout out to Jordan Arsamon. Met him again I think he was walking to Mathern's, or we were by Mathern's at least. Great to see him again. Jordan Arsamon, someone we met last year when we were doing our stadium locker room tour with Jack Besh, and very, very cool to meet him again and see him again. He's a great dude. Sorry we didn't take enough photos of guys. We just didn't want to be star chasing it up, and sometimes it's just not cool to just, hey, can we get a photo, bro? Like, it's, I kind of like to let things just kind of go where they take. Like, if the moment feels right for a photo, okay, all right. But sometimes not. It's just life. And life in Louisiana, can't get enough of it. Stay tuned. If you feel like there's something we're missing, wait until Friday. We are going to bust your ass with content. There are going to be at least 3 or 4 pieces of content posted on the site. Get ready, buckle up. It's going to be more from this trip. We love you, Louisiana.